Hello my sweet friends, welcome back to another reading vlog, but today there's a twist. I've seen a bunch of other people do this and I wanted to jump on the bandwagon and I guess just do my own version of it. But this week I am going to let Instagram choose my reads. So what I'll do is post a couple of book options on my Bookstagram. If you're not following me on my Bookstagram, I'll leave it on the screen, definitely follow it. It's where I post all of my bookish updates. I'll post a couple of book options on there and whichever book wins the poll is the one that I will read next. So just to jump straight into it, here's two books I prepared earlier. These are the two that I'm going to use in the first poll. They are both romance and they're both kind of like a rom-com vibe, I think. We have When in Rome by Sarah Adams and Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Both of them are on my May TBR, so I thought I should probably pick books on my TBR, at least to start off with. I genuinely don't know which one people are gonna pick. I feel like both of these books I've had a lot of people comment about recently, like a lot of people being like, Rachel, you should read Yours Truly, or Rachel, you need to read When in Rome. Sometimes you can guess what's gonna win, but I really just don't know. So I'm going to post a pic, BRB. Of course I have my phone on like the other side of the house. Cute. I'm so intrigued to see what wins. Which one should I read next? Okay, this is what the poll looks like. Pretty simple. And I'm gonna leave it up for probably at least a few hours before we see which one has the most votes. So I'll check in with you guys later. Okay guys, a little update on the poll. It's only been up for like 2 hours so far, but you guys are not making it easy. Currently, When in Rome is at 46% and Yours Truly is at 54%. So like they are very close. I wasn't sure which one was gonna win, but I didn't think it would be like almost 50-50, so interesting. So I left that poll up for a few more hours and Yours Truly did end up winning, literally just like, I think it won at like 51% and When in Rome ended up on like 49%, so it was almost 50-50, which was so incredibly crazy to see. But that obviously means that I decided to read Yours Truly, but I'll definitely have to pick up When in Rome soon because from the looks of it, it looks like a lot of you want me to read it. Reading update. I've been reading Yours Truly for the past couple of days. I definitely haven't been reading it very quickly, but I think that's more because I've been busy and I've also been reading other books at the same time. You guys know that I'm always reading like 3 books at once. So this has kind of fallen on the back burner a little bit, but I don't even have any real reason why because I am loving this. So I'm currently at page 236 and I think it's about 400 pages. So I'm a little over halfway. Guys, it's just so freaking good. I'm loving it. I feel like Jacob is like the sweetest guy I've ever met. I really like majority of the guys that Abby Jimenez writes. I feel like they're all just such nice guys and Jacob is no exception. I feel like if anything he's probably one of the nicest, or he might tie with Daniel from Part of Your World because Daniel is also so nice. I feel like Daniel is more like golden retriever and Jacob is more like shy golden retriever. Jacob also has social anxiety and the representation is honestly really good. Like you get so much of his thoughts in his POV and they're just very relatable. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of it and I feel like we don't see guys with anxiety very often in books. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I love the love story. I think it's witty, it's funny. It's also fake dating and I know a lot of you guys love that, so had to mention that. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying this. I feel like it has the potential to be 5 stars, but even if it's not 5 stars, I think it'll be at least 4. I just drove into the city and I'm here a little bit early, so I'm literally just gonna sit and read this in my car in the parking lot, but loving it so much. I'm sorry if you can hear the cars like screeching, but I'll update you guys when I've read a bit more. Guys, I have 50 pages left. 50 pages. I'm kind of stressed because I don't really know what direction it's gonna take. I'm sure there's a happily ever after, but like, I want the happily ever after now. I don't want more conflict. I don't really have any new updates for you guys. I'm still loving this book. I was reading it in bed last night and I was getting tired, as you do when you're reading in bed. And it was definitely past the point where I would usually put my book away for the evening and go to sleep. But then I was like, oh, I'll just read one more chapter. So I'd read a chapter and then I'd get to the end of that chapter and be like, oh, maybe one more, and then I get to the end of that chapter and just like it kept happening, which is not that common for me personally. Like I feel like I really have to be in a book for me to like want to continue reading when I'm already tired. And the fact that a cutesy little rom-com was the book that was making me do that, because I feel like normally it's like a thriller or a high stakes fantasy that makes me be like, I can't put this down, but like a cute little rom-com, that's not usually the case. But I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much, guys. I'm really excited but also really sad to be finishing this. I already know that I'm going to go back and reread this at some point and annotate it because I haven't been annotating it and I am regretting it because it's so good. But I'm gonna go finish this and I will let you know my final thoughts. However, I did upload our next poll because I wanted to give it a few hours. I decided I'm still in the mood for a romance, so I chose The Final Offer and Marriage for One. And I put up a poll on my Instagram to see which one you guys would rather see me read. Both of them are kind of chunky. And I know Marriage for One is obviously a marriage of convenience, and I know Final Offer is like a second chance romance. And so far the poll has been up for 3 hours and Final Offer is winning at 68%. Marriage for One only has 32%. So Final Offer has significantly more votes, which last time didn't happen. As you guys saw, it was like almost 50-50. So it seems like Final Offer is gonna have an easy win here. That was so freaking good. What the heck? I don't even have much to say. I just loved it so much. It made me feel happy. It made me feel safe. I know that's a really weird description to give a book, but like this love story just felt safe. It felt gentle. It felt just so lovely. And I love romance books like that. Now I probably have to wait like a whole nother year for another release from Abby Jimenez, and that makes me so sad. Now that I'm done with yours truly, it is time to pick up the next book that I'm gonna be reading, which according to the poll is gonna be Final Offer. I'm excited. In case you guys don't know what Final Offer is about, it is the third book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. So the first book is called The Fine Print, the second book is called Terms and Conditions, and obviously the third one is Final Offer, and each book centers around a different Kane brother, and they are all very, very wealthy men. Their grandfather recently passed away and he left a huge inheritance for them. However, in order to access this inheritance, they each need to complete a very specific task that he has left for them in their will, and once they complete it, obviously they get the money and whatever. And to be honest, the tasks are a little weird. It is a little unrealistic in my mind, but it makes for a good premise. It makes it interesting, so I'm not like mad about it. It just doesn't seem like something that would actually happen in real life. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just how I feel about it. Anyways, this book is about Callahan, or Cal, which also is another thing that I'm just like, Cal Kane, like his name is Cal Kane. He is the youngest brother, I think. I also think he has some sort of addiction, potentially alcoholism, high functioning alcoholic. Yeah. It also says on the back here that he used to be an athlete, and it also says no one knows the real me but her. Lana Costello, I'm assuming is pronunciation, my childhood best friend and the only woman I ever loved. I'm so excited. I personally love second chance romance, and obviously it's like childhood friends to lovers to strangers, hopefully to lovers again. I don't know if that's even considered a trope at that point, but I love second chance romance. I love when there's like history, childhood, first love, like I love all that sort of stuff. So I'm really excited to read this. I've been putting it off because it's a really chunky book. I think it's what, like 600 pages or something? 576 pages. But I will say that Lauren Ash's writing is very easy to read, in my opinion. Like I feel like I usually fly through her stuff fairly quickly. Actually, just for some background information, I rated the first book in this series 3.75 and then the second book 4 stars. Both really enjoyable, but I'm really hoping this is even better. It is now the next day and I thought I'd give you a bit of an update. I am about 150 pages in, which honestly, I'm pretty proud of that progress. I feel like these books are just so easy to read. Like I feel like I fly through them every time. Like the writing is just like easy. And it's interesting because I was talking about Daughter of No Worlds, or the War of Lost Hearts trilogy, in my last weekly vlog, and I was saying how that series, I just feel like I have to think so much and I have to really concentrate in order to know what's going on, and I can't just like sit back and chill and enjoy the ride kind of thing. And I feel like this book is literally exactly that. Like I don't have to focus at all and I still know exactly what's going on because it's just chill, which is definitely not a bad thing. I kind of love having a mindless read every now and then, but I was trying to reflect on how I'm feeling about the book itself and like how much I'm enjoying it, and I feel like right now I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's fine. Like it's good. Obviously I'm only 150 pages into like a 500 page book, so there's a lot of time for me to change my mind and start liking it a lot more. But currently I just feel kind of meh about it. I'm not disliking it, but I'm definitely not like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to pick it up. Like I'm just like, yeah, it's a chill read. The characters are like fine. Again, I feel like I'm not super connected to either of our main characters, which is interesting because this is the third book in this series, and so we've seen Cal, who is the male main character in this book. We've seen him in the other 2 books, and I feel like I should kind of really know who he is as a person right now, because I'm 150 pages into the 3rd book. I don't know, I just feel like I barely know him still. Like, I know he's an alcoholic. I know he is a retired athlete. I know he feels like a failure towards his family and towards the people he loves. Like, I know those things, but they're literally on the back of the book, and I feel like I don't really know that much about him apart from that so far. So it's okay. I'm only 150 pages in, so I might change my mind. I'm heading out today, and I think I'm gonna bring this book with me and try and get some reading done while I'm out. I feel like this is a pretty lackluster update because I just don't have any really strong feelings. Hello my friends, it is 7 a.m. and I have just been reading this morning. Last night I got up to page 300 and this morning I've just read for a little while and now I'm at page 360. So we're definitely over halfway, but tell me why I am 360 pages into this book and I still have over 200 pages left to go. That just feels silly to me. Like, this book does not need to be this long. I'm so sorry, but this book does not need to be this long. Like 600 pages for a contemporary romance where like at 360 pages in, the couple is kind of together. Like there's no labels or anything. They're not like fully obsessed and in love with each other, but they are doing coupley things and like showing each other affection, and yes, they're being a bit cautious about it, but like they're kind of together at this point. So what on earth do we need 200 pages for? I feel like I'm at the point now where we could have 50 pages left in this book, and that could include the conflict, the resolution, and a happily ever after. Like, this book does not need another 200 pages in my opinion. I'm just a bit frustrated at it because, to be honest, I'm kind of feeling a little bit bored. I'm not disliking the book. It's not like I can pinpoint anything that I'm like, this is awful or this is bad, or I'm really unhappy with the way that a character is doing anything. Like, there's nothing I can pinpoint that is necessarily bad. It's just more like, why is this book this long? And also, I'm kind of bored. And don't get me wrong, I love a long book. It's also interesting because I've read other contemporary romances that are long, like Magnolia Park's Long Way Home. I think it's like 530 pages. I could be wrong in the exact amount, but it's over 500 pages. And I didn't feel like that book was boring or too long at any point whilst I was reading that. Obviously, you guys know I love Magnolia Parks, but I didn't feel like that book was too long. But I do feel like this one is, and I am kind of like, why? Which is really sad because I honestly thought that this would be my favorite book in the Dreamland Billionaires series, but I feel like it kind of is leaning towards being my least favorite, which I'm shocked at. Like, I really didn't expect that. Again, don't get me wrong, I'm not rating it like 1 star or anything like that, but it just kind of feels like a 3-star read for me right now, and it's kind of sad that I feel like that because I really thought this would be like a 4.5-star read, if I'm being honest, and I'm just not feeling like that. Maybe I'm just not connected to our main characters. It's not that I'm not rooting for them, I just don't really care that much, and I think that is like the main issue across the board with this book, is that I just don't care about the characters, about the plot, about anything going on, and trying to convince yourself to read 600 pages of a book where you don't really care about the characters or the plot, it's kind of hard. So again, we still have over 200 pages left to go. I might change my mind, but at this point I'm just like ready for it to be over, and that's how you know it's not a favorite, because if it's a favorite book, I don't want it to end. It's a couple hours later. It is so cold in Brisbane at the moment, so hence why I'm dressed like this. I was just sitting outside in the sun and I finished this book. And to be honest, I feel the exact same way about it as I have the whole way through, and I'm really sad about it. I feel like I've already said this a couple times, but I didn't dislike it. I don't want you to think I disliked it. I just didn't really care for it. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't great. So I think it's gonna be a 3-star read. Like, I didn't DNF it. There was one point where I considered DNFing it. And again, I don't even have any real reason to dislike it, apart from 1, it was too long. I'd still stand by that. And 2, I just personally didn't connect with the characters, and if you can't connect with the characters in a romance, I feel like it's pretty difficult to like the book as a whole. So I'm sad, but it's 3 stars, and that's just kind of, I gotta be honest about it, you know? But that does mean that we can move on to our last book of the video. However, I literally have no idea what I want to give you guys on Instagram as the 2 options. Like, I just don't know what the heck I'm in the mood for. We quite literally have so many options to choose from. Here's my TBR cart. I just don't know what I feel like. I've obviously just read 2 romances in a row, so part of me is like, I should read fantasy or something else, but I'm not sure if I'm in the mood for anything else. I really just don't know. Part of me thinks maybe Twin Crowns could be an option. Maybe I do pick out 2 different fantasy reads, but then again I have so many fantastic romance options right now, but do I really want to read the 3rd one in a row? I quite literally can't choose. This is really difficult. Alrighty guys, I've just spent the past like 5 minutes sitting and staring at my TBR cart, but I feel like I have my 2 options. So I did decide to go with 2 fantasy options. We have To Kill a Kingdom, which I did start at one point but never got more than like 25 pages in, and then we also have Twin Crowns, which I've heard a lot of great things about. I think this is more of it's almost like a rom-com mixed with fantasy, I think, and then this is like pirate mermaid vibes. I'll post a poll on Instagram. We'll see what you guys pick. I really don't know what I want to win. Like I feel like I'd be happy with either of these options, so I'm intrigued to see what you guys choose. Which fantasy should I read? To Kill a Kingdom, octopus emoji, Twin Crowns, crown emoji. Here's what the poll looks like, and post. Why do I look so pale? It's now the next day, and To Kill a Kingdom definitely won the poll yesterday. Let's see what the final numbers were. Okay, To Kill a Kingdom had 66% of votes and Twin Crowns had 34%. So a very easy win for To Kill a Kingdom. And so obviously I started it and I'm already halfway through chapter 22. And guys, I am loving this so much. It is so good. I am like shocked at how good it is. I know I already mentioned that I read like 20 pages of this a couple months back and never continued. And it wasn't even because I didn't like the book. It was just because I got distracted and started reading other books instead. But even when I read the first 20 pages, I felt like it was such a good setup and I loved the writing. And so coming back to it, it just reminded me how good the writing was, how much I was enjoying the story from the first 20 pages that I read a couple months ago. And I just think this is such a phenomenal read. Also, I'm pretty sure this is a standalone. When I looked it up on Goodreads, it does look like there's like a companion novel or something like that coming later this year. But I think this story is technically like a standalone, like you can read it by yourself, and I don't think it's gonna have a cliffhanger or anything like that. And it's also a really, in comparison to other fantasy novels, it is quite short. I think it's 350-ish pages, and I feel like it's honestly so hard to find fantasy books that are short and also standalones. Like a lot of the time when you hear about really good fantasy books, they're always a duology, a trilogy, maybe even more. And sometimes they're upwards of like 400, 500, 600 pages. And there's nothing wrong with that. I really love a series and I really love a long book, but sometimes you just want to read a standalone. And so I just wanted to let you guys know, because I know there's a lot of people out there that want to start reading fantasy but don't know where to start. And a lot of series look really intimidating because they're so huge. I feel like this would be a great place to start, or even if you just really enjoy fantasy already and you want to read a standalone, I think this is a really great option. I think this could be either a 4 or 5 star read, maybe like a 4.5, I don't know, but it is just so good so far. It's basically about a girl called Lyra, and she is technically, I think, like princess of the sea. Her mum is queen of the sea and she's a siren, which like I don't want to compare them to mermaids, because even in this book, like the sirens hate the mermaids, but that's like the best description I can give you. And she is just really trying to gain the approval of her mother, and it's really hard for her to do that. And I don't know how to explain this without spoiling too much, but basically she thinks there is something that she could do that would gain the approval of her mother, but it's just like a really difficult thing for her to do. So she kind of goes on this mission to complete this task to gain her mother's approval. And then we also have Prince Elian. I'm not exactly sure on the pronunciation. I think I'm gonna go with Elian. And he is a human prince, but he doesn't even really want to be a prince. He doesn't like the idea of being royal or the responsibility of being a prince. And currently he's pretty much like a pirate, and it's his job to kill sirens, because obviously sirens are really dangerous to humans because sirens kill humans. So he is now trying to kill sirens to try and make the sea a safer place. So he's kind of like a pirate, but he's also a prince. It's very interesting. But as I'm sure you can imagine, Prince Elian and Princess Lyra somehow come into contact, and I guess their missions merge a little bit. Lyra is also like undercover, like no one knows that she's a siren, and the story just kind of goes from there. I'm sorry if you can hear the leaf blower. I actually want to know, is it a reimagining of The Little Mermaid? Because there are a few things that really remind me of The Little Mermaid, but I'm not sure if that's just because she's kind of a mermaid. But she also has red hair, which I know also such a little detail, but she has red hair, and she also gets cursed and she loses her like siren singing voice, which really reminds me of The Little Mermaid, you know. Okay, so yes, it is a retelling of The Little Mermaid according to Google. To be fair, there's only a few things that really remind me of The Little Mermaid. Like a lot of the story is very much unique and kind of like its own thing. But yeah, this is beautifully written. I love the characters. I feel like their stories are so fleshed out. Also, I'm assuming there will be romance in this book, but so far there is not. So if it is, it's definitely a slow burn, like major slow burn, which is my absolute favorite. And I'm just so obsessed. As you can obviously tell, I'm just raving on about this so much. But anyway, I'm going to continue reading this. I wouldn't be surprised if I literally finish it this morning, because all I want to do is read this book, and I will keep you updated. As you guys saw, I ended up finishing To Kill a Kingdom. I finished it probably like an hour ago or so. Finally got myself ready. I literally woke up this morning and was like, I can't do anything until I finish this book. So I'm glad that I finally put myself together. This book was so good, guys. I am so happy that you guys chose it in my Instagram poll, because it ended up just being such a phenomenal read. I don't even know how to critique it. Like, I don't really have anything negative to say about this book. I think I'm gonna rate it 4.5 stars because it was amazing and I have no critiques and nothing really negative, but it still didn't feel quite like a 5-star read. Like, it wasn't one of those books where I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like the best book in the world, but it was almost there. And I'm just so shocked how good this book could be whilst only being like 350 pages. I am such a series person, especially when it comes to fantasy. I will always choose a series over a standalone because I feel like you get found family, you get to know the characters so well, you get so much depth, the plot can be so complex and layered, and I love that. But this just managed to be like the perfect little standalone. I think I mentioned this, but it is YA. There's also no spice in this book. The only thing about this book that some people might not like is not that it's dark, but it's a little, I don't know if gory is the right word either, but it's kind of like everyone's trying to kill each other. And like some people die, but it's not like super gruesome or disgusting, but like the way that the main characters are trying to kill people is by ripping out their hearts, which sounds really gross. In the context of the book, it doesn't feel as gruesome as how I'm saying it right now, but obviously be aware of that if death and killing is not really your vibe. But also, like, I feel like most fantasy has elements like that to it. I feel like high stakes fantasy is just, that's how it is. Yeah, this was just fantastic. Again, I think if you want to get into fantasy, or you're into fantasy but you just don't want to read another huge series, or like start another huge series, especially if you're already in the middle of a bunch of series but you just want something different, I think this is the perfect in-between book. Mermaids, pirates, princes, princesses, high stakes, romance subplot. I will say, actually, that was the other thing I wanted to let you guys know. There is a romance subplot, but it is like crumbs. It is very minimal romance. It's a lot more like fantasy with a hint of romance, but I still thought the romance was really, really good because it's like major slow burn. It's kind of like the whole like they brush against each other vibes, and you're just like, oh my gosh. Like, you get so giddy over such small things, and I love that sort of romance in books, especially in fantasy. Yeah, 4.5 stars. It was absolutely fantastic and a great book to end this video with. Like, I'm glad we're ending on a high note. I also definitely want to check out more of this author's writing. Let me know if you've read them and if you'd recommend them. To end off this video, I just wanted to quickly go through the books that we ended up reading for this video and give my final thoughts and final ratings and stuff like that. So we started off with Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I loved this so much. This was a 4.5 star read for me as well. It was like borderline 5 star. It could probably be like 4.75. And if I keep thinking about it, I might bump it up to 5 stars. Like, if it's one of those ones that sticks with me, because it was so good. I've heard a lot of people say that they didn't like the miscommunication in this book, and that's such a fair criticism, and I can totally understand where people are coming from. I will say, I feel like in fake dating stories, miscommunication is almost a given, because it's the whole thing of, are they showing me affection because they like me or because we're fake dating? And are they saying these things to me because we're fake dating or because they actually think that way? And so yeah, I feel like miscommunication is almost like a given if it's got a fake dating trope. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like miscommunication, and I don't like miscommunication either, but for some reason it didn't bother me in this book. So loved this. I love Jacob with my whole heart. He is the cutest, sweetest boy to ever exist. Definitely one of my new book boyfriends. Like, I just Look at me. I'm smiling so much talking about him. He's just so cute. So we started off with an absolute banger. You guys picked so well, and I'm so happy you guys chose that because I just had the best time reading it. Then obviously I read Final Offer by Lauren Asher, and I didn't dislike this, but I didn't love it. It ended up being a 3-star read for me. It was a little bit disappointing just because I've liked the other books in this series more. So I did go in with high expectations, and maybe that was part of the downfall. Like, I went in expecting a lot, and I guess I was let down a little bit. I also, like, upon reflection, I was trying to figure out what I didn't love about this book, and I think one of the main reasons that I didn't love this book was because it is marketed as a second chance romance, but I feel like in a lot of second chance romances, you get a then and now timeline, and in the then timeline, you get to see them falling in love, and then in the now timeline, that's usually when they're somehow, you know, like meeting again, and they're figuring things out, and you kind of figure out the issues that they had and whatever, but you still get the like falling in love part. And in this book, you don't get that. You do get a couple of flashbacks throughout the book of them being younger and them like, I guess, falling in love, but you don't really get to see them falling in love. You only get the now timeline with, yeah, like 3 or 4 flashbacks that are like within other chapters, like a few paragraphs. And I guess that just wasn't enough for me. Like, I needed to see them fall in love. I think in my mind, it was just a missed opportunity, because by the time you get to this book, you know that they were in love. You know that they're still kind of in love. The only reason they're not together now is because of external factors like Cal's addiction and him just like not willing to get sober for Lena. Or not being able to, I guess. And so it's like, you know that they love each other, they always have, but you just don't get to see them falling in love. And like, that is the best part. The build-up is the best part. And like, yes, you get that a little bit, but it's just not the same. So again, it's not that I don't recommend this, because it's still a good book. I do still stand by what I said about it being too long. And I do think that my criticisms are valid, but I also can see how people love this book and just really, really enjoy it. And I think it's just one of those situations where it's a good book, but it just wasn't for me. So we saw it, we read it, we conquered it, and we're moving on, and I probably won't think about it anymore. And then lastly, of course, I read To Kill a Kingdom. I just talked about my thoughts on this, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but I loved this. 4.5 star read. I'm almost mad that this sat on my TBR cart for so long, because I just enjoyed every single minute of this. I was never bored. I love the story. I love the characters. The plot was so interesting the whole way through. It was quick. It was snappy. YA fantasy standalone, 350 pages. We absolutely love to see it. Like, nothing to critique about this apart from it just didn't quite feel like a 5-star read, but 4.5 stars, that is a fantastic rating. Honestly, none of these were bad, and 2 out of the 3 of them were 4.5 stars. So that is just like a fantastic outcome if you ask me. I definitely didn't go into this video expecting to come out with 2 4.5 star reads. So I am very happy. I'm very content with the outcome of this, and I definitely need to do this again. Let me know if you want to see another one of these videos where I get you guys to choose my read on Instagram. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed filming it, and I guess I'll just see you guys in a few days time with my next video. Goodbye.